Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing Come Sing a Song with Me. The lyrics will be on the screen and it is also in your hymnal, 346 in the gray hymnal.
Good morning. Oh, thank you. I'll give you some applause back. Welcome to the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or ERUUF as we like to say. My name is Reverend Jacqueline Brett. I'm the lead minister here, and I must say, I have missed you folks, and I am so glad to be back after 9 weeks away. I have rested and I have planned, and we have a full year ahead of us. Yes, indeed we do. So whoever you are and wherever you come from, whatever your race, your gender identity, whomever you love and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we welcome you here to create beloved community with us. And if you are visiting with us here in the sanctuary or online, we invite you to rise in body and spirit, or spirit, so that we might give you an ERUUF welcome. And if you're online, put your name in the chat box. It's good to see you all. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your Sunday morning with us. If you have children with you, we invite you to join our children right after the Time for All Ages for our religious exploration classes. Parents, just take your kiddos on out, and our RE team will tell you what to do next. And we also invite adults to join our Inquirers class to to just take the Inquirers class, which is in the building next door in the Commons room. And that class is a class that allows you to find out a little bit more about us. It's a different class each week. And we also can find out about you, and everyone is welcome to participate in that class. This morning, we have a guest preacher, because I'm smart enough not to spend the last week of vacation writing a sermon. And because our guest preacher is also pretty darn awesome. Yes. We are delighted to welcome the Reverend Lisa Garcia-Sampson as our guest preacher this morning. Reverend Lisa is the executive director of the UU Justice Ministry of North Carolina, or UU Justice NC, as we like to say. Lisa says that she has the pleasure of working with over 24 UU congregations throughout North Carolina. But I have to say, it is us. We are the ones who have the pleasure and the profound opportunity of being led by Lisa in intersectional justice throughout this state. Lisa does amazing work, and you'll hear some about that. Please listen closely. There is much to be done in our state right now, and she'll tell you a little about it. Today's special music is by a highly talented young person from our congregation, Charlotte Vander Capellen, right? I got that right, Charlotte? Charlotte Vander Capellen is doing our special music today, and it is wonderful to have her. So let us all, well, now would be a great time to turn off or down any devices you might have on your person. Please do it, because every time it goes off, everybody is like, oh my gosh, I forgot to turn off my device. And then let's center ourselves into this time, into this place, into this now. And let's all take a deep breath in together. And let it out. And let us begin our service.
About rainbows and what's on the other side. Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. you been half asleep? Or have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da da dee da da do, la da 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 dee da da do.
Yeah, girl. As we laid our chalice this morning, I offer these words from Susan Magin. From beyond the playful summer clouds, beyond the earth's thin blue line, from beyond the bright moon and meteor showers, we hear the call to look and listen carefully, to turn away from a world that buys and sells happiness, to fully experience the luring whisper of your heart's truth. Why not today? Why not now? We are here and together at home in this evolving place, home in this ever-changing breath and body, home in this dewy morning, even as it reaches towards a hot high noon. We hear the call from far beyond and deep within, and we do not hear it alone.
And so now let us sing together. Wendy will lead us.
Please rise in body or spirit. Join me in singing hymn number 1000 in your teal hymnal. Words also on the screen. Morning has come. Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is King. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Please turn and greet your neighbor.
This morning, that was your cue and my cue to get back to the pulpit. Hello, ERUUF. It is so wonderful to be back with you, and we will have our time for all ages in just a moment. But first, I have to put on my religious exploration hat. It is that time of the year. Indeed, the start of the official religious exploration year is coming soon, just around the corner in September. And I come to you with our final crossed fingers ask for RE leaders, sometimes called RE teachers, for the coming year. Now, why should you take time out of your Sunday schedule to lead a group of our folks in religious exploration? Well, number one is that we just have a fabulous group of young folks who are truly delightful to work with. Now, if you are one of the young folks here with religious exploration, that's children or youth, can you wave your hand for us? Can you give us a wave? There's a few of you out there. There's a few of you we have had the pleasure of being with. And I got to say, last year, one of the highlights of my week was any time I got to spend time with them. They can be curious, insightful, caring, funny, and just bring a whole lot of joy to your week. Now, I could give a whole sermon on them, but I don't have that time today. And also, you get to help lead them and join them in rituals, in play, and in inquiry. See, in religious exploration, we don't teach what folks have to believe. We sometimes tell folks what some people believe, and always hope folks consider what they are called to believe. And you can be a part of helping grow the youngest, and for our youth, the young but not quite young guest, in a place where they have freedom to explore. So if you're thinking, and I hope some of you are thinking, ooh, that sounds like an amazing thing to be part of, here's what we are hoping to find. While we do have space for lovely people who can be there once a month, or who can help lead special events like the Christmas pageant, call me, we could still use about 15 people who could co-lead a group about twice a month. Why twice a month? Because it helps you make connections better. It helps you make connections faster to meet more often. Now, twice a month, not counting December and summers, is only 16 times, just 16 times, and only during what will be our second service. Because, of course, you want to hear Reverend Jacqueline preach. She is fantastic. And all of the rest of our people who are on our worship team, you want to hear, I get it, I understand. And you also do not have to be a professional teacher, but you should want to help build connections. Now, how do we help get you ready? On Saturday, August 26th, we will have a training to prepare for the year. And also, our RE staff will be having monthly meetings on Zoom with each team to help you consider what you as a leader believe about our topics, and to check in about what extra help you may need or what wonders you may have experienced as you've been leading. I'm looking forward to meeting with these teams more often myself. We'll be providing you with curriculum, activities, stories, and if you are leading, you get to help figure out who on your team will be doing which pieces, and we can support you in that too. So if you have questions about helping lead, aka teach, an RE group, aka class, or if you just know you'd be excited to take that plunge, find me after service over at the Care Building. You can also email Melissa Smith or myself. And thank you to the wonderful people here and who might be watching with us on the stream, who have already said yes and expressed interest in being a part of this important piece of building Unitarian Universalist community. Thank you. And now, I invite our smallest and mediumest and largest and our children at heart to come on down for a little time for all ages. Come on down. If you're shy, it's okay, but you don't have to be shy. Oh my gosh, I'm a little envious of the hair color. I have hair envy in general. It's true, I do have a beard. I gotta account for that. All right, okay, we got some people coming on down. I thought that was a tiara for a second. Excellent. If we could either come forward or spread out just a little bit, give some people some space. All right, well, today, in service, where's that floor? There it is. The whole service is going to be about lessons that we have learned from the moon. So I bring you a lovely book today about a lesson from the moon, and this book is called Whose Moon Is That? What's that at the front? Somebody made the sound. Kitty? Yep. Got a little meowing going on. This is one of my favorite parts about the actual book. It says this moon belongs to in the front, but it's not part of the story, but it's cute. Whose moon is that? Asked the curious cat. Of course, a cat would ask a question like that. It's my moon, said the tree. Do you think that's true? No, you don't. Almost none of you think that's true. Okay. The tree is wrong, said the bird with a song. The moon belongs to me. Does it belong to the bird? No. The moon belongs to itself. I wonder if that's where the story was. What?
The moon belongs to Earth.
The moon belongs to Earth? Ooh. Every planet has a different moon. Some have more than one. Exactly. All right. Okay, we got a bear here. I found it first, said the bear in a burst, and I don't like to share. Is this a joke? The mountain spoke. It's mine. It's only fair. It does kind of get situated. It looks like it's situated in the mountains, but is it really?
No.
Still pretty far away. Now that's a lie, said the starry sky. I love this picture, though. The moon is held by me. This is getting a little out of hand, isn't it? Everybody wants sole ownership. Gosh. It helps me howl, said the wolf with a growl. I own it, obviously. Oh, so obvious. Now I'm appalled, the ocean called. None of this is true. I reflect its light on my waves all night. It does not belong to you. All right, said the moon so bright. If the curious cat must know, when darkness falls, I'm a light for all, yet no one owns my glow. Some of you were right on track. If you fight all night over wrong or right, you'll miss the mystery. I shine for one and all, and none throughout eternity. Like somebody said, it's a moon for Earth, right? There are other moons for other planets. So the moon kind of belongs to everybody and nobody at once and itself. Yeah. And with that, the curious cat did what? Took a nap, like a cat's gonna do. When morning broke and he awoke, he said, "Hey, whose son is that?" As a cat is prone to do. And with that, we will process on out to continue our religious exploration in the care building. I will see you there.
I invite you to join me. Well, before that, didn't you miss Jim? It's so good to have Jim back, too. I've missed Jim. But I invite you to join me now for words of contemplation and prayer. These words this morning are adapted from the words of Alicia Ford. We pause in this moment to remember who we are, companions on this grand experiment called life. We take this moment to shed the ways we have been carefully taught to lead from fear, to punish the poor, to persecute those who don't look like we do, to deny rights to those who love whomever they love, to believe that we are separate. We take this moment to shed all of that and instead hear and see each other into existence, into community. We take this moment to dream, to cast a vision, to stretch our minds into the future and imagine what we may be if we were to build a new way of being. Not someday, but beginning again today. Beginning again every day that we have breath, taking courage with these hands and hearts to make real the dream of a more equitable world, to journey together, seeking to be transformed, even as we transform. Becoming explorers and learners in this world around us, humbled by what we do not yet know. Fulfilling the promise of healing a fragmented world, laboring not just in hope, but also in love. Let us enter into a moment of contemplation as we hold this in our heart. We hold in our hearts this morning all who are suffering and all who are rejoicing, all people the world over living with the effects of war, injustice of any kind, and the negative impacts of climate change. May those in our state of North Carolina who have need for safety, health, and bodily care receive what they most need. In this community, we hold in our hearts Jean and Gerda Presson as Jean remains in the hospital, but is in good spirits and recovering. We hold Tom Fletcher and Mike McLeod, both of whom are managing serious illnesses. And we hold Rose Shalom Halperin on the loss of her mother, Dora Shalom, who died peacefully in her sleep on Friday, July 28th. And we hold all of our unnamed beloveds in this community who are managing serious circumstances. We pray that all receive what they most need. We send each of you strength. We send you courage. We send you love. And we are here for you. Finally, we join in the gladness of those who are rejoicing for milestones and celebrations of all kinds. It is good to know that even in the midst of suffering, there also exists the possibilities of joy. And for this, we are ever grateful. May it be so, and so it is. Amen and Ashe.
Good morning, everyone. It is such a joy to be back here at ERUUF this morning, not just because this is the shortest commute that I have to make to a church, although I do appreciate that. Again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is the Reverend Lisa Garcia-Sampson, and I serve as the Executive Director of our Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry here in North Carolina. We currently work with over 24 congregations across our state with the mission of joyfully organizing UUs to co-create a transformative movement for justice through spiritual grounding, collaboration, and imagination. We support congregations in their work and work in close relationship with our national UU partners, and we are uniquely positioned to work at a state level, to organize UUs to contribute to statewide campaigns and movements for justice. Recently, my job afforded me the opportunity to be in conversation with someone I never imagined I'd be on a first-name basis with, one of the most prophetic voices in our faith today, the incredible Paula Cole-Jones. And whenever I talk to her, I try to play it cool, but if I'm honest, I get a little starstruck. Who here has a UU celebrity that you kind of got a little bit of crush on? Yeah. So we're on the phone, and it's pretty late. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And we're talking about the anti-racism workshop that she was doing for us, and about the brutal legislative session, and the monster abortion ban that had just passed in the state legislature, when suddenly she stopped and said, "Lisa, are you outside?" And I was outside walking my dog, and I immediately apologized, thinking she couldn't hear me over the cars, like, how rude, this is Paula Cole Jones. But then she said, no, that's not what I meant. Then she said, "Lisa, look up at the moon." And I did. It was such a simple thing, I just looked up. And something happened. After a really hard week when I was so wrapped up in my own situation, that act pulled me out of my head and into a larger consciousness. We spent a few minutes just raptured by the crescent moon and how beautiful it feels to be two people separated by hundreds of miles, but looking up at that same moon. We imagine how many people on our planet at that very moment were looking up at that same moon, discerning their work for justice at this moment in our history. It made me feel so small, and I don't need help feeling small, and yet it made me feel so deeply connected to this abundant, loving movement, larger than our state, larger than our faith, larger than we can even imagine. And it reminded me of something that had just occurred the day before. That weekend, I had been in Wilmington, North Carolina, as the movement chaplain for a community safety training. This 2-day training is no joke. It's for people working to keep our movement safe at abortion clinics, drag story hours, voting sites, churches, school board meetings, and all the places where extremist groups are creating real safety threats in our state. We had 2 UU churches there learning about de-escalation, awareness of weapons, how to wash people's eyes out after they'd been pepper sprayed, serious stuff. And some members of our UU congregation in Morehead City were there at a time when their congregation was discerning how visible they should be as a beacon of progressive values in a very small and a very conservative town. This is something that is being discerned by UU congregations across our country. And by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our beloved friends in Plano, Texas, who were victims of a firebomb attack last week. During one of the breaks for this training, I checked in with the Morehead City's minister, Reverend Micah Ma, to see how things were going. And they said that their congregants had come to equip themselves with the skills to keep their community safe in case they were ever targeted for doing something radical like putting up a progress flag or hosting a drag story hour. And Micah said it was a powerful thing that they were discerning a call to courage and recognizing that the danger that they were choosing to lean into is for many not a choice but an inescapable reality. But Micah said that by far the most important thing they learned that weekend was not the skills of awareness or awareness of their privilege, but the realization that they were not alone. For the first time, these leaders of their congregation looked around the room, not only at fellow Unitarian Universalists, but the larger beloved community in our state, and viscerally understood that they belong to a larger movement for justice that has their back too. There was a sense in which that was their looking up at the moon moment. Their realization that they are not only accountable to that larger interconnected web, but that they can access the love and power and wisdom of that web. And the thing I want to point out here is that something that I have experienced throughout my ministry. It's that our capacity for courage is so often, almost always, deeply tied to the depth of our connection to that which is greater than us. We are undoubtedly living through a moment where we are all being called to courage, both within and outside the walls of our congregations. So don't forget to look up at the moon. And know that the abundant love and power of that sacred web is here to sustain you and to guide you. On Tuesday of that same week, I was at my monthly art club for local justice organizers here in Durham to explore our work through creative expression. Trust me, you don't want to see my watercolors, but that is not the point. And that is the second time that week that the moon came to me with a lesson. The text study was about a particular week in the Jewish calendar, and specifically the holy day of Shavuot. Shavuot marks the occasion when the Israelites were journeying in the wilderness in the darkest of nights, when Moses went up the mountain to receive the Ten Commandments. This story is one that I know pretty well, maybe you do too, but what struck me was the reference to the moon. It was the third new moon since they had escaped from Egypt, and the new moon is the darkest point in the moon cycle because it's the moment when the moon is in conjunction with the sun and its dark side is towards the earth. For all of you Pink Floyd fans out there, it's literally the dark side of the moon. I was struck by this story because it reminds us that we are all called to have faith that in the darkest, scariest moments in the wilderness, we can give birth to something new. And the moon reminds us that our world is ever turning, ever unfolding, and that change is revelation. That change itself is sacred. That is the wisdom that earth-centered and astrological and Eastern religions teach us, and it's a core truth in our own living tradition of Unitarian Universalism. And we have seen that over the last 4 years. We have been through the dark night, and new revelations have come. Our faith has been changed. I hope you know these stories, but in case you don't, in 2020, UU the Vote, in the height of the pandemic, was the largest activation of UUs in the history of our faith. New technology brought us into deeper relationship with our justice partners and with fellow UUs across the state and country, and we reached out to 3 million voters. That is the power of our faith. That moment pushed us to interrogate the limits of our imagination for what is possible, for what we are capable of. And last year in 2020's UU the Vote campaign, we went even further. Here in North Carolina, 22 congregations worked together to write over 34,000 postcards with Reclaim Our Vote, made over 36,000 phone calls with Carolina Jews for Justice in the New North Carolina Project. And our work for democracy has also sparked a massive activation of UUs across the state beyond our work for democracy. Protecting our movement from extremist groups like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. This Tuesday, I was in Wilmington alongside UUs and movement partners for a school board meeting where they were discussing banning the book, Stamped from the Beginning, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America. These New Hanover school board meetings have become the place where Proud Boys show up in absolutely massive numbers to intimidate anyone advocating for progressive values. Recently, that included them loudly taunting trans youth as they testified to the school board about the challenges they were facing in schools. And whether it's because of political alignment or fear of this group, the school board and the police do nothing to stop them. But on Tuesday, this Tuesday, the people of Wilmington did. turning out over 300 people, including 50 UUs from a relatively small congregation, friends, for a pre-school board meeting rally called Let Freedom Read. As a member of our state safety team, I drove down to Wilmington with the crew from the Triangle to join their local safety crew, to follow their lead and support them. This involves monitoring the perimeter of the rally space, and when necessary, being prepared to create space between the Proud Boys and the rally goers, to be prepared to de-escalate. And I was on the crew facing the woods because, get this, the Proud Boys in numbers 40, 50, 60 deep, what they like to do is they like to hide in the woods and then emerge out of the woods wearing their brass knuckles and their bandanas covering their faces for added intimidating effect. But guess what? For the first school board meeting in a very, very long time, the Proud Boys never emerged from the woods. And local leaders strongly believe that the massive number of Wilmington residents, loud and strong, proclaiming their values, kept the Proud Boys in the woods that day. And then it started to lightning. Torrential rain came down. The crowd of hundreds were soaked, but they did not leave. They were getting into that school board meeting. So hundreds huddled under these small spaces, small shelters, shoulder to shoulder, chanting until they were led into that building. The movement is alive, my friends. In communities across our state, we are finding our courage, we are finding our power, and we are in this for the long haul. And even though I recognize this is my town, I know Durham school boards aren't necessarily the same as Wilmington or Fayetteville or even Wake County, but there is so much work to do here. There is so much possibility in this city. You must feel that. I know how many of you are working for that. And we know that the larger movement needs us. First, we need people who are willing to get skilled up and join our statewide safety team. White men, friends, it's time. We need some help. I'm 4'11". If you are interested in getting skilled up and helping to have the back of conservative communities, many of which are rural communities being attacked across our state, come find me after service. And because of our proximity to the state capitol, we need to show up in big numbers, especially this month, as the state legislature will be back in session after their summer recess. And we know that any day now, votes will be called to override Governor Cooper's vetoes of 3 absolutely horrific anti-trans bills that don't say gay bill, that would force teachers to out their students if they identified with a pronoun or a gender not assigned in their school records. The bill that would ban gender-affirming care to trans people, and the ban on trans youth in sports. Tomorrow, that's not even mentioning the state budget. That's not even mentioning all the other ways in which the legislature in this last month, we believe, of the session is going to continue to erode our rights. We have been battling at the legislature since the very beginning of this year. I know that so many of you have been here. Emily Cox, Paige Potter, you've got a crew. We need that crew to be bigger. I just have to be honest about that. We need that crew to be bigger. Tomorrow, the Reverend Barber and the Moral Monday movement will be back in Raleigh for the first time in a long time because this moment is so incredibly important. And what we are hearing is that this will be the first of a month of Moral Mondays to let the state legislature know what the people of North Carolina want. 2 o'clock tomorrow at the General Assembly. Join us there. We keep turning out. We keep fighting. The majority of people in North Carolina want LGBTQ rights. They want health care. They want housing. They want school funding. The majority of North Carolina wants these things, and we've got to let our elected officials know. But it's not all about fighting against. This movement is about the act of creation. It is about the act of building the North Carolina that we deserve. Every time I've come here for the last 3 years, I've talked about Medicaid expansion, have I not? And I said, I'm going to keep talking about it until we get this over the finish line. This spring, UU Justice NC celebrated the biggest win that we have ever been a part of. Finally, after over a decade of work, the passage of Medicaid expansion in North Carolina. That's right. Soon, over 600,000 people in our state will have new access to health care. And people kept telling us that was never going to happen. But together, our Medicaid expansion movement, spanning generations and racial identities, and every nook and cranny of this state, kept fighting, kept believing that this day was possible, and now this day is here. That is what I call faith in action. And friends, I hope you believe deep in your bones that we are just getting started. And all of this has transformed our state, our faith. It has informed the evolution of our Unitarian Universalist theology, bringing us into deeper understanding of our collective liberation and the personal spiritual transformation that it requires. Friends, we are in a new moon moment, and as people of faith, we are each called to navigate the anxiety and fear and grief that comes with it, and be open to the sacred possibilities of change. Open ourselves up to the liberation that is possible. Finally, like the new moon, the full moon also offers us wisdom. It is the moment when the sun will illuminate the entire moon, making her the brightest and largest object in our night sky. That big, bright sphere reminds us that we are not meant to just survive in the wilderness, but that we are meant to dance under the light of the moon. One final story. When I first came to North Carolina and took this job, I should remember when I called you, yeah. I felt insecure about this role. About my role in the movement, particularly because joy has always been the deepest instinct of my spirit. It is a core part of my identity and my ministry, but I worried that leading with joy was inappropriate in this time of such fear and pain and loss. I worried that it would be experienced as a disregard or a privileged avoidance of these realities. And let's be real, that's something that UUs have got wrong a lot. But this is what the movement in North Carolina has taught me, something that New England never did. As the poet Toy Derricott says, joy is an act of resistance. Joy is not counter to the movement, it is the purpose of the movement. Love and joy and rest and abundance, these are the things we are fighting for, and so these are the things that we should be fighting with. That is the difference between a movement centered in the act of fighting against versus a movement grounded in the act of creation. A movement that is loving and life-giving, and dare I say it, irresistible. This abundant love is the life source that sustains us. It is the beacon in the night sky that guides us, so nourish it. Open yourselves to receive every blessing that the world offers you. Know it is your birthright. And that as people of faith, we must lean into the movement and help co-create a world where that birthright can be claimed by all. Friends, may we remember that we are held in the beloved community more loving and powerful than we can even imagine. May we have faith that the darkest moments can give birth to something sacred and new. And if we ever feel alone, may we simply remember to look up at the moon. Amen. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Amen. Can I get an amen? Amen. That's right. So we weave the fabric of beloved community as we draw our circle wider and commit ourselves to offering as we are able our time, our talent, and treasure, given as we cultivate hearts of generosity toward our mission, our vision, and as Reverend Lisa so aptly described, our work in the world. As the greeters come forward to pass the plates, if you do not have cash or checks on hand, we invite you to use the card in the pews by pointing your device to the QR code, or simply go to ERUUF.org on your device and hit the Give Now button and follow the instructions from there. And we will continue now with our offertory from Charlotte.
Out of the ruins and rubble, out of the smoke, out of our night of struggle, can we see a ray of hope? One pale thin ray reaching for the day we can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city. Not a city of angels, but we can build a city of man. We may not reach the ending, but we can start slowly but truly mending, brick by brick and heart by heart. Now, maybe now, we start learning how we can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city. Not a city of angels, but we can build a city of man. When your trust is all but shattered, when your faith is all but killed, you can give up bitter and battered, or you can slowly start to build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city. Not a city of angels, but finally a city city of man.
For all of the amazing gifts of this beloved community. Thank you so much, Charlotte. I just said to Reverend Lisa that she should take Charlotte on the road with her and she can sing that song after her sermon. But anyway, thank you so much. We are grateful for all that we have to offer, and we will now have our final closing hymn together. It is so good to be among you again.
Please rise in body or spirit. We are going to sing We Are a Gentle, Angry People, number 170, and the lyrics are on the screen. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are in this together, and we are singing for our lives. We are in this together, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing for our lives.
Every time we sing about rainbows and beautiful cities, the movement is alive. Every time we carpool with our neighbors to Raleigh to speak truth to power, the movement is alive. Every time trans youth show up at school board meetings, to demand that their educators honor their sacred worth. The movement is alive. The movement is alive in each and every one of us. I hope you feel that deep in your bones. A new North Carolina is possible if we have the courage to create it. May it be so. Amen.